Hello, everyone. I'm going to talk to you today about study 3 of the Nisonger RRTC project, which was related to developing best practice guidelines to help move forward mental health treatment and interventions for adults with intellectual disability. Our goal was to make guidelines for mental health treatment in adults with intellectual disability that could be used by professionals like doctors, counselors, therapists, and researchers, and also could be looked at by people with intellectual disability and their support people to understand what are the best practices in therapy and what should they expect from their therapist. We started by first looking at all the available research and read lots of studies, reviewing them and understanding the results that they came up with. We then wrote down all of the different ways and methods and treatments and recommendations that were in the research project so that we could understand and get what we call an evidence-based information list of prospective guidelines. We then published those in 2 papers, one related to reviewing the research quality, another one looking at psychotherapy practices, and then worked with our disability experience expert panel to put that into a clear language document that summarizes what research tells us about mental health therapy for adults with intellectual disability. After that, what we wanted to do was to take this list of things that researchers said they thought were important in mental health treatment and ask people with lived experience. So first, we wanted to understand if clinicians in the community were using these practices. So we had focus groups where we would meet on Zoom with a bunch of mental health professionals, counselors, psychologists, and therapists, and ask them what they were doing, how they saw it working, and where they saw challenges. Next, we wanted to understand how adults with intellectual disability felt about these therapy practices. So we had focus groups where we talked with adults with intellectual disability who had been in mental health treatment to understand what they thought of different types of therapy practices and procedures and what recommendations they might have. The goal for this year is to take all this information together so that we can write guidelines that are informed by research, but also by the perspectives of people with lived experience. We'll get more input after we write these guidelines, and then our goal is to publish them so that they can be used widely by lots of different professionals and people with lived experience. We're hoping to take this to be able to then train professionals on best practices in intellectual and developmental disability treatment for mental health, as well as to research the practices further. We need to know more about what types of treatments work and who they work with, and we'll only do that through more research as we go forward. The Nisonger Center has started with the training aspect of this through our Building Bridges project, which is an interdisciplinary training project with the goal to improve services and supports for people with co-occurring IDDD and mental health disabilities. And then also to provide resources to those professionals. So providing training on what are the concerns with mental health disability in adults with ID, how can they best be supported? We also will be a part of a recently funded National Resource Center on mental health disability and intellectual and developmental disabilities, where we will really work on helping to develop care and services and supports that are equitable, effective, and understandable for adults with co-occurring intellectual and developmental disabilities and mental health disabilities. So there's a lot of great work that has been done thus far and much more that we'll be able to do over the coming years. Thank you.